So, talk to me about the difference between fullness and satisfaction. You'd mentioned
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. They overlap. You know, if it's a Venn diagram, you're going to see the overlap in the middle. Fullness is when our body is, when we reach a comfortable level of fullness. That's when we've reached a level of fullness or satiety that feels good.
Hmm.
You know, I think we can all relate to that when we've had a meal that um, is filling, and we get to this point where we feel full. And that's one thing that I do with clients, is help them rate their fullness on a scale of 1 to 10 so that they can become more in tune with fullness.
Hmm.
um, and learning to stop eating when you get to this level of comfortable fullness,
Hmm.
most of the time, not all the time, because then that's another form of rigidity and rules. You know, there's going to be times that we eat past the feeling of fullness. That's normal eating in my mind.
Hmm.
But more often than not, if you can learn to stop eating when you are comfortably full, then it actually helps with appetite regulation. It definitely helps you feel better. And once you learn to stop eating at that point, regardless of the amount of food it took to get there, and that's
Hmm.
another thing that takes a little while to work on. Um, it's great. You just
Hmm.
learn to stop eating at that point and you move on with your life.
Yeah.
Now, satisfaction is similar to fullness, but different in that, you know, I think we've all had a meal where we say, boy, that just hit the spot. You know, it just had just the right, you know, sweetness or saltiness or savoriness or whatever. It's just, you know, so good.
Hmm.
That's satisfaction. And satisfaction is very important because we could all eat until, you know, we're full. But if we're not really satisfied,
Hmm.
most of the time we're going to be back in the kitchen looking for more food.
Hmm.
I think, you know, if you think about a time when you've had a meal that you got full on, but it didn't satisfy you, just didn't,
Yeah.
you know, just didn't hit the spot.
Yeah.
What happens is you start looking for something else to satisfy you.
It
So
does.
one thing that I work with people, with my clients on, is to aim for fullness and satisfaction
Hmm.
in most meals. Now, the reality is we're not all going to have that perfect, satisfying meal all the time. Life is crazy. Life is busy. It's not always going to happen, unfortunately.
Right.
But to think about that and to think about what would be satisfying for me. In fact, I do have a checklist that people that I like to use with people that I work with, that it's only like 5 things, but one is, are there foods in this meal that will satisfy me?
Mm.
You know, people, dieters, chronic dieters tend to think of, I should just have a salad and baked chicken. Well, you know, you can become full on a salad and baked chicken, but
Hmm.
are you really going to be satisfied?
Hmm.
You know, I mean, unless that's really what you want. But
Right.
if you're really wanting pizza, are you going to sit down and you sit down and have this meal that you think you're supposed to have on this diet? Is that going to be satisfying? Probably not,
Hmm.
which means then you're going to end up eating mindlessly throughout the afternoon. And then that doesn't feel good because you're eating not because you're hungry, but because you just didn't get satisfied.
Hmm.
So that is one thing that I encourage people to do, to think about paying attention to fullness and learning to stop when they feel full, but to also think about satisfaction with the meals that they choose, the food that they buy, and just how they eat. The satisfaction is important.